Hey there, bright sparks. Hanging out for the nerds here, and I've got this guy shining a light. Gonna have a little bit of a chat about electrification. Ooh, let's get my rave on. Yeah. No. Okay. So, what are we going on about? Uh, Modernization and electrification. This is more about, rather than electrification per se, although that is what we're going to talk about a lot, this is about more broadly the way in which the NEP evolved and how Bolshevik ideology evolved alongside that. And in particular, so there's a real focus about modernization, really. So, conceptualizing the revolution as a struggle to modernize Russia is a good way to get your head around this. And most Bolsheviks understood it in that terms, that the revolution was bringing about a new society that was, modern, progressive. It was a forward movement in terms of economics, politics, and social structures. And as the Civil War ended and the NEP brought about stability, that idea really came to the forefront of most Bolsheviks' thinking. So it's less about a day-to-day struggle, to survive, to keep the regime in power, and more about how to make a better life. So that's really what all this is about. And that's summed up by what was called the productivist strain of Bolshevik thinking, that's how to produce things better, how to make things better, how to make life better. So that's what productivism was an element of. Alrighty, now the biggest aspect to that, the most clearest expression of this was electrification. And Lenin had a real thing for that, a real obsession by this. Um, he says this about electrification. Electricity will take the place of God. Let the peasant pray to electricity. He's going to feel the power of the central authorities more than that of heaven. So, electricity was the key to this modernizing strain of thinking and modernizing a revolutionary project. And to Lenin, electricity was something special. It's in the modern day, it's lost its magical spark. There's a play on words, but for Lenin, that's what it was all about. And there was just little personal anecdotes about the way that he would roam the corridors of the Kremlin at night, switching off all the light switches. H.G. Wells described Lenin as Lenin, who, like a good Marxist, denounces all utopians, has succumbed to the last utopia, the utopia of electricians. A bit of a dreamer was old comrade Lenin. Others shared this passion for electricity, which was an expression of modernity. So that's where you got to get your head around that, and the way in which the NEP was the means to produce that. So Mayakovsky, our revolutionary poet, says, we must snatch away God's thunderbolts. Take them. We can use those volts for electrification. So that's the ultimate expression of a modern society, a modern socialist society, one that would be filled with, light and heat and access to services, and electrification was its key. Mayakovsky says, after electricity, I lost interest in nature. Too backward. So there were very real plans made by the Bolsheviks to achieve this. They established a particular institution, an organization to develop Russia's electricity plans. That was the State Commission for the Electrification of Russia, GOELRO. That's a hard acronym to say, isn't it? Okay, but its work was a part of that, and a real central part of the broader economic planning, model. In February 1921, Vysenka was replaced by a new organisation doing the same thing, supervising and managing economy, and that was called Gosplan, which was the Central Planning Commission. And the work of Galero, that's the Electricity Commission, was a major part of this. And Lenin celebrated that the establishment and expansion of electricity would be the most important means by which socialism would be brought to the new society. It was not easy. The Bolsheviks very much were nothing's free, isn't it? Okay, were quick to admit that they faced many challenges in overcoming shortfalls in funding this, in difficulties in building the infrastructure that accompanied it, and that's what sometimes was derisively called electrofiction. But most of the communists associated with these programs, no, we're actually, making great gains. And if you look at the output, the statistics, they are quite important that they had shown a significant gain. And that continued to develop as the 1920s went on. And that's where you get that measure of how important uh, electrification, how important electrification was as an expression of the success of the NEP. So that's why that's something to have a bit of a think about in talking about the importance of electrification. Lars Lee, a historian, describes Lenin. Lenin himself was electrified, and so he continued to see that as a really important part of the socialist program. And a fun little thing to talk about, part of the moving towards the cult of Lenin, that after the death of Lenin, light bulbs were referred to as little Ilyich lamps. Isn't that cute? Alright, well, there you go. That was a quickie. До свидания. Stay fully